Hello again. For this one, we're going to go through how to do data processing on the spreadsheet practice, often assigned as a summer assignment, but maybe you're getting it just at the beginning of the school year. Notice that we can switch between the different sheets down here at the bottom. They're kind of like tabs on a browser, but for spreadsheets, they just put them at the bottom. Number 2 is about data and processing. So what it's saying is to use the average formula that we just learned about on spreadsheet skills to calculate the average rebound for each trial and to put the data in the, it should say blue boxes below. I'll fix that in the future. And then number 2, we're going to find the uncertainty of the data. And number 3, we're going to graph the data with error bars. So this is building off of some of our skills from previous, what do you call that? From previous classes, such as Physics 1. It's also building off some of these spreadsheet skills right here. So let's start by putting the drop height down here. I'm going to say equals. I'm going to select this cell up here, and then hit enter, equals, and then I'm going to select this cell up here, hit enter, and I'm going to use that as my starter pattern, and I'm just going to fill down. Now, the reason why I did that instead of typing each of them is because in the future, if for some reason I was like, oh, I didn't actually want 40, I wanted 45 right here, it automatically updates down here. I don't have to retype it. So in other words, by linking all of these cells, any updates on your original data set will carry all the way through. It saves you a lot of time, especially if you make a small mistake. Next, we're going to find the average. If you remember from before, we say equals average, we have a parenthesis, and then we just need to highlight what we want to average together. Well, I'm going to highlight trials 1, 2, and 3 right here. I'm going to close that parenthesis, and then we've got our average. Now it's going to ask me if I want to autofill. I almost never do because I like to just be sure it's doing what it is I want it to do. So again, average, I'm going to go ahead and highlight, and then I'm going to close. You can also have it autofill and then go back and adjust it. So I'm going to now highlight those two things and fill down. Alternatively, you could keep typing average each time and doing the formula individually. Now you'll notice that these are all going out to a lot of decimal places. We're going to need to clean that up a little bit during IB physics, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now by using these two buttons right here, the decrease and increase number of decimal places. So I'm going to hit decrease. We can see it starts off with a lot of them, and I'm just going to limit it down to, well, if our original data was down to the centimeter, then I'm going to go ahead and limit it down to a centimeter marking right here. Cool. That's how you find the average. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find our uncertainty. Now remember that uncertainty is max minus min over 2. So I'm actually going to create a new little column over here for myself. I can either do this on paper, and that's totally fine, or you can do this inside your spreadsheet. So I'm going to make a column for max, I'm going to make a column for minimum, and then I'm going to make a column that I'm going to call uncertainty. And this is just unofficial so that I can find it or create it, etc. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say equals max, and I just want to find the maximum value of these three. So I highlight, close, there we go. I'm going to do that same thing right here, equals maximum, and then I'm going to go ahead and highlight these three, close it, and it finds the maximum value. And that way, again, even if I change the data, it will auto-adjust and find that maximum value. Now I can fill down right here, and we get all those maximum values for each trial. I'm going to do the same thing right here with the minimum. So minimum, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the 3 trials, and I can fill that down. And we should do a quick spot check. Okay, so it looks like for the 20 centimeter drop height, the maximum was 18, the minimum was 12. Looks like we're finding that perfectly. Now, the uncertainty for each trial, here what we're going to do is we're going to say, remember it's the maximum minus the minimum, and then we divide both those by 2. So I need to be careful with my parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and put a parenthesis. I'm going to go ahead and say this maximum value minus this minimum value, close parenthesis, divide by 2. Cool, that's my uncertainty for that trial. I'm going to go ahead and do this again. Remember, uncertainty is kind of the error bar size is really what this is. So I'm going to go and do that again, and we can see that we get the uncertainties for all of them. We're going to use this to determine my error bar size later on. I'm going to go ahead and write it right here. Error bar equals, and then for me, the biggest one is 4.5. I'm going to round that because we want it to match our number of centimeters here, so I'm going to round that to 5 centimeters. Alternatively, if you wanted to use a maximum of the uncertainties, that would work too. But here we know that we're going to be graphing all of our data here with error bars of a size of 5, so give or take 5 on the rebound height. Cool, now it's time to graph. This part should be the easier part. We've done this a lot in Physics 1, but here it is again. We highlight our data set, we go to Insert, we go to Charts, and then we just need to work on the formatting. Next bit, let's double check that the setup was proper. I think I forgot to do that. So I'm going to go back to Setup, and I'm going to see that it is a scatter plot. So it says scatter, awesome. Oh, it auto-formatted it. I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done that first. So go down here, go down to scatter, cool, it works. I need to retype my title. I also am double checking that the data seems to line up. Here we see that my data should go from 20 to 120 on the x-axis and should go from, looks like 15 to 88 or so on the y-axis. Cool, that seems about right. It's always good to double check. Sometimes you have to check or uncheck one of these over here. Usually you want use column A as labels, and then if you highlighted the title, like up here of the column, then you should have use row blank as headers is the other part. Let's go back to customize. Let's change our title one last time. So drop rebound heights versus drop heights for a bouncy ball. Always good to put the units in there, so I'll go back and do that real fast. Parentheses. You could also use the slash format that we more typically use. Since this is a sentence, I often will use parentheses instead. Next, we're going to go down to series, and we need to enter a trend line. So I'm going to click trend line. Cool, we've got a trend line going on there. Last but not least, I'll say use equation as the label. So we always do that when we're graphing. And then the last bit is we want to add in some error bars, so we click error bars. Now the default error bar is 10%. Since we have a constant error bar size of 5 for me, you probably have the same since you're using the same data set. I want to change this from percent to constant, and then I'm going to change the value from 10 to 5. And that is our error bar size. And we can see our trend line hits all of our data points or their error bars, so we're good to go on this. That is our data processing. So I can exit out of here, and I'll just drag this over to the side so that it's not covering anything. That's it for the data and processing. When you are done with this, go ahead and move on to the conclusion. No video for the conclusion. I'm really just looking for your own ideas there. Do the best that you can. Feel free again to chat with friends, neighbors, etc. who are also taking IB Physics. You need to do your own work and your own spreadsheet, but you are more than welcome to discuss possible answers with them. You just shouldn't be copying them word for word. Hope that helps, and I will see you all later.